The alarm woke Alan Wright from a deep sleep. He reached for his phone, squinting at the bright screen. It was 3:17 a.m. An emergency call from the Earth Defense Force headquarters was not how he wanted to start his day. "Commander Wright," he answered, his voice still rough from sleep. "Sir, you need to come in immediately," said the voice on the other end. It was Lieutenant Amy Clark, and she sounded scared. "The deep space sensors have detected something big." Alan sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. "How big?" "Sir, it's thousands of ships. They just appeared at the edge of our solar system." 30 minutes later, Alan stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Force headquarters, staring at the massive display screen. The images from the long-range scanners showed what looked like stars moving in perfect formation. Except they weren't stars. Each tiny dot of light was a ship, and there were thousands of them. "Current count is at 9,873 vessels, sir," said Amy, handing him a data tablet. "And more are still appearing." Alan took a deep breath. For 50 years, the Earth Defense Force had existed in secret, preparing for this exact moment. Most of humanity had no idea that aliens existed, let alone that Earth had been building defenses against a possible invasion. "Send the alert to all EDF bases worldwide," Alan ordered, "and get Director Peterson on the line." In her office on the other side of the world, Laura Peterson was already awake when the call came in. As the director of the Earth Defense Force, she had been preparing for this possibility her entire career. "How much time do we have?" she asked. "At their current speed, about 24 hours before they reach Earth orbit," Alan replied. Laura nodded. "Then we proceed with the emergency protocol. I'll inform the World Security Council." Meanwhile, on the lunar outpost, astronaut Susan Miller was doing routine maintenance on the observatory equipment when she noticed something strange. The stars near Neptune were moving. She adjusted the telescope and gasped. What she saw wasn't in any star chart. It was a fleet. "Houston, this is Lunar Base Alpha," she radioed. "We have a situation." But there was no response, just static. Susan checked the communications system. Everything seemed to be working fine. Something was blocking their signal. With a sense of dread, she realized it must be the fleet. They were jamming Earth's communications. Acting quickly, Susan activated the outpost's emergency protocols and began gathering all the data she could on the approaching ships. If she couldn't warn Earth directly, she would collect as much information as possible to help them prepare. Back on Earth, world leaders gathered in an emergency virtual meeting. Most were hearing about the Earth Defense Force for the first time, and many were angry about being kept in the dark. "You're telling me that for half a century, a secret military organization has been operating without oversight?" demanded the French president. "The EDF was created after the Roswell incident," Laura explained calmly. "When we discovered that we weren't alone in the universe and that not all aliens were friendly." She displayed images of the crashed alien ship that had been hidden from the public for decades. "From this wreckage, we reverse-engineered technologies that have quietly revolutionized our world. The internet, smartphones, solar power, all were influenced by what we learned. And now a much larger force has arrived," said the Chinese premier, his face grim. "What defenses do we have?" Laura looked each leader in the eye. "More than they know. For 50 years we've been preparing, building weapons and shields based on their technology, training soldiers to use them. The aliens think they're facing a primitive species. They're wrong. Across the globe, hidden bases activated. In the depths of the ocean, beneath remote deserts, and high in mountain ranges, Earth's secret defenses powered up. Weapons that had never been used outside of testing were armed and ready. On the Zithrai command ship, Admiral Krelvik reviewed the invasion plan one final time. The blue-green planet on his view screen looked peaceful, primitive. "Our scans show minimal space defenses," reported his second-in-command. "They have some basic satellites and a few small space stations. Nothing that can stand against even one of our ships, let alone 10,000. Krelvik nodded in satisfaction. "Send the message. Give them 24 Earth hours to surrender." The transmission was broadcast on all frequencies, in all Earth languages. The message was simple: submit or be destroyed. Alan Wright received the message in the command center. He played it for the assembled officers, their faces growing pale as they listened. "So now we know their timeline," he said when it ended. 24 hours. Get me a secure line to the lunar base." But communications with the moon were still being jammed. What they didn't know was that Susan Miller had already gathered critical intelligence. The alien ships had a design flaw. Their energy shields operated on a frequency that Earth's graviton disruptors could penetrate. It was information that could save millions of lives if only she could get it to Earth. Susan made a decision. She suited up and prepared the emergency shuttle. The journey to Earth would be risky with the alien fleet in the way, but she had to try. As the 24-hour deadline approached, Earth revealed its first surprise. What the aliens had thought were simple communications, satellites suddenly changed. Solar panels folded away, revealing weapons. Hidden thrusters activated, moving them into defensive positions. In the command center, Alan received a message from Director Peterson. "The World Security Council has given unanimous approval," she said. "Activate the Aegis protocol." Alan nodded and turned to his officers. "This is it. The moment we've been preparing for. The aliens think they're facing a helpless world. Let's show them how wrong they are." Across Earth's orbit, hundreds of defense platforms came to life. On the moon, concealed bases opened to reveal missile launchers and energy weapons. And from hidden facilities around the world, Earth's own fleet of advanced ships prepared to launch. The Zithrai were about to discover that humanity was far from defenseless, and of the 10,000 ships that came to conquer Earth, only a few would survive to tell the tale. The 24-hour deadline was almost up. Admiral Krelvik stood on the bridge of his command ship looking at the blue planet on the main screen. "The humans have not replied to our message," said his second-in-command. Krelvik made a sound. That might have been a laugh. "As expected. They probably don't even understand what's happening. Send in the first wave. 2,000 ships should be enough to secure orbital control." On the orbital defense platform Sigma-7, Captain Daniel Harris watched as the alien fleet split apart. A fifth of their massive force was moving toward Earth while the rest held position. "They're sending 2,000 ships," he reported to Commander. "Right. Looks like they don't think they need their full force." "Good," Wright replied over the secure channel. "Let them keep thinking that. All defense platforms, maintain stealth mode until they're in range." Daniel turned to his crew, men and women who had trained for years for this moment. "This is it, people. Remember your training. Those aliens think we're defenseless. In about 20 minutes, they're going to learn how wrong they are." The Zithrai ships moved in perfect formation, their purple-black hulls reflecting the distant sun. They were confident. Their scans showed only primitive satellites and a few small space stations, nothing that could possibly threaten their advanced ships. What they didn't see were the defense platforms hidden in Earth's orbit, their stealth technology making them invisible to standard scans. They didn't detect the weapons systems integrated into what looked like ordinary satellites. And they had no idea about the fleet of Earth ships hidden on the far side of the moon. Susan Miller's shuttle dropped out of the lunar base's hidden hangar, staying close to the moon's surface to avoid detection. Her plan was to use the moon's gravity to slingshot toward Earth, hoping the aliens would be too focused on their attack to notice her small craft. As she prepared for the maneuver, she saw something that made her heart race. Hidden doors were opening across the lunar surface, revealing missile silos and energy cannons. The moon itself was armed. They really did think of everything, she whispered. On Earth, engineer Kevin West was working frantically at the main power station outside Denver. His team had been given an impossible task: redirect power from facilities across the country to activate the planetary shield grid. "We need more power," he shouted over the noise of the generators. "The eastern seaboard is only at 70%. His assistant looked up from her monitor, her face pale. "Kevin, they're entering the atmosphere over the Pacific. We're out of time." Kevin hit the final sequence on his control panel. "It'll have to be enough. Activating the grid now." Across the planet, massive underground generators hummed to life. The power draw was enormous, causing brief blackouts in cities worldwide. But as the systems came online, A shimmering dome of energy began to form in the upper atmosphere. In space, the first wave of Zithrai ships approached Earth orbit. They expected no resistance. They were wrong. "They're in range," Daniel announced, on the defense platform. "All units weapons free. Show them what Earth can do." Across Earth's orbit, the hidden defense platforms revealed themselves. What had looked like ordinary satellites suddenly changed, solar panels sliding away to reveal weapon ports. The first alien ship exploded as a graviton beam tore through its hull. Then another, and another. The Zithrai, caught completely by surprise, scrambled to raise their shields. "Impossible!" screamed the Zithrai commander of the first wave. "They're not supposed to have this technology." His ship rocked as another blast hit them. "Return fire. Target their defense platforms." But the Earth weapons had been specifically designed to counter Zithrai technology. The alien shields, calibrated to stop energy weapons they knew about, couldn't block the graviton disruptors. From the moon, Susan watched as chaos erupted in Earth orbit. The defense platforms were hitting the alien ships hard, but more kept coming. She knew her information about the shield frequencies was crucial now more than ever. With a silent prayer, she activated her shuttle's engines at full power, using the moon's gravity to propel her toward Earth. Her small craft accelerated rapidly, slipping past the aliens who were too focused on the unexpected battle to notice. On his command ship, Admiral Krelvik received the shocking reports. The first wave was under heavy attack with hundreds of ships already destroyed or disabled. "This is impossible," he raged. "How do they have these weapons? Our intelligence said they were pre-space flight." His tactical officer looked up from his station, fear in his eyes. "Sir, we're detecting energy signatures from the moon as well, and there's something forming in Earth's upper atmosphere, some kind of shield." Krelvik slammed his fist on the console. "Our intelligence is 50 years old. They've been preparing for us." In the Earth Defense Force Command Center, Alan Wright watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. The aliens had underestimated humanity, just as they had hoped. "First wave is 40% neutralized," reported Lieutenant Amy Clark. "Our defense platforms are holding. Minimal damage so far." "What about the planetary shield?" Alan asked. 82% coverage and holding. It won't stop all their ships, but it will slow them down." Alan nodded. "And our fleet?" "Ready to launch on your command, sir." Alan smiled. It was time for the second surprise. "Give the order. Let's show these aliens what humanity can really do." Across the dark side of the moon, hidden doors slid open in the lunar soil. Earth's secret fleet rose from concealed hangars, hundreds of ships built using reverse-engineered alien technology. As the Zithrai first wave fell into disarray, the human fleet moved into position. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and humanity was proving itself far from helpless. Susan Miller's shuttle dodged debris from destroyed alien ships as she raced toward the defense platforms. The information she carried could turn the tide even further. All she had to do was reach Earth alive. Susan Miller's shuttle docked with the Sigma-7 defense platform just as the second phase of the battle began. Captain Daniel Harris was waiting when she emerged from the airlock. "Astronaut Miller," he said with a quick salute. "Commander Wright told us you were coming. What's so important that you risked your life to get here?" Susan handed him a data drive. "The aliens' shield frequencies. I was able to scan their ships from the lunar observatory before they noticed our defenses. Their energy shields have a major weakness. They can't block our graviton disruptors if we adjust them to these exact settings." Daniel's eyes widened. This could change everything. He turned to his communications officer. "Send this to all Earth ships immediately." On his command ship, Admiral Krelvik watched in horror as the first wave of his fleet fell into chaos. Almost half of the 2,000 ships sent to secure Earth's orbit were already destroyed or disabled, and now a new threat had appeared. Hundreds of Earth ships rising from the dark side of the moon. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Their technology should be centuries behind ours." His science officer studied the readings with disbelief. "Sir, they're using technology similar to ours, but it's different." modified in ways we never considered. They must have been studying us for decades. Krelvik made a decision. Send the rest of the fleet, all of it. We'll crush them with sheer numbers. The remaining 8,000 Zithrai ships began to move toward Earth. As they advanced, the Earth forces put Susan's information to good use. Every human ship and defense platform adjusted their weapons to the frequencies she had discovered. In the Earth Defense Force Command Center, Commander Alan Wright and Director Laura Peterson watched the massive alien fleet approach. "This is it," Alan said quietly. "Everything we've prepared for." Laura nodded. "It's time to show them our full capabilities. General Powell, you may deploy the Artemis fleet." On a secure channel, General Richard Powell received the authorization he'd been waiting for. Hidden throughout the solar system, in secret bases built into asteroids and the moons of distant planets, Earth's most advanced ships powered up. "All Artemis vessels, this is General Powell. You are cleared to engage. Show these aliens what humans can do." Lieutenant Olivia Garcia sat in the pilot seat of her small, fast attack craft. She was part of a special squad with a critical mission: board one of the disabled Zithrai ships and extract tactical data. "Squad, form up," she ordered, as her team of 12 ships left the main fleet. "Target the disabled vessel at coordinates 227 Mark 9. Remember, we need their central computer core intact." The squad approached a drifting Zithrai ship, its purple-black hull scarred by weapon fire. Using precision cutting tools, they created an entry point and boarded the alien vessel. Inside, they found the ship mostly abandoned, its crew having escaped in emergency pods. Olivia led her team to the command center. "Harper, you're on tech duty," she said to her second-in-command. "Get into their systems and download everything you can." While they worked, the main battle spread across the solar system. The Zithrai were shocked to discover human bases hidden throughout their approach path. As their ships passed Jupiter, massive ion cannons concealed on the gas giant's moons opened fire. Near Mercury, antimatter production facilities that had been hidden on the planet's dark side launched specialized warheads. Even the asteroid belt became a battlefield as hidden human outposts revealed themselves, centuries of human preparation, becoming clear in a single day. On Earth, scientist Paul Brooks had been studying Zithrai communication systems since the first ships appeared. Working with a team of the world's best computer experts, he made a breakthrough. "I've got it," he shouted, startling his colleagues. "We can access their communication network. We can send false orders to their ships." Within minutes, his discovery was put to use. Across the battlefield, Zithrai ships began receiving contradictory commands. Some were ordered to retreat, others to attack their own vessels. The carefully organized alien fleet fell into confusion. Back on the captured Zithrai ship, Olivia's team made a shocking discovery. "Lieutenant, you need to see this," Harper called out, pointing to the alien screen. "According to these files, the Zithrai aren't acting alone. They serve something called the Collective." Olivia studied the information. "The Collective. It looks like some kind of hive mind controlling multiple species. The Zithrai are just one of their pawns." "There's more," Harper added. "The Collective sent the Zithrai to capture Earth because they fear us. Something about human individuality and creativity making us unpredictable." Their discovery was interrupted by an alarm. "We've got company," called one of the team members. "Zithrai troops returning to the ship." "Get that data and let's move," Olivia ordered. This information could win the war. As they fought their way back to their ships, Admiral Krelvik was facing the truth. His massive fleet was being torn apart by an enemy he had severely underestimated. Earth's defenses were specifically designed to counter Zithrai technology. It was as if they had been preparing for this exact invasion for decades, which, unknown to him, they had been. "Sir, we've lost contact with 30% of our fleet," reported his communications officer. "Some ships are reporting receiving conflicting orders." Krelvik slammed his fist down. "How are they in our communications network? This is impossible." Then his tactical officer looked up in alarm. "Sir, we're detecting a massive energy buildup from Earth. Something is happening with their planetary shield." On Earth, Kevin West had completed the final adjustments to the planetary defense grid. What had started as a shield was now transforming into a weapon. "All power stations, give me everything you've got," he ordered over the global communication network. "We need full capacity for 30 seconds, that's all." Across the planet, power surged through the grid. The shimmering dome of energy around Earth pulsed once, twice, and then released a wave of energy that expanded outward. The energy wave passed harmlessly through human ships but hit the Zithrai vessels like a hammer. Shields failed, engines stalled, and weapon systems went offline. In the sudden silence, Olivia's team made it back to their ships with the precious data about the collective. As they returned to the Earth fleet, the true scale of humanity's victory became clear. Of the 10,000 ships that had come to conquer Earth, nearly half were now destroyed or disabled. The rest were in disarray, their coordinated attack shattered by human ingenuity and preparation. But the battle was far from over. And now, with the knowledge of the collective, humanity realized this was just the beginning of a much larger war. The data that Olivia Garcia and her team recovered from the Zithrai ship changed everything. As Earth forces continued to battle the alien fleet, scientists and military leaders gathered in the underground war room beneath Geneva to review the information. "The collective," Director Laura Peterson said, studying the holographic display. "A psychic network connecting multiple species across dozens of star systems. The Zithrai are just one of many races they control." Commander Alan Wright nodded grimly. "And according to this data, the collective sees humans as a threat specifically because we can't be controlled by their psychic network. Our minds are too individual." General Richard Powell pointed to another section of the data. "Look at this. The Zithrai fleet wasn't sent here just to conquer us. They were sent to test our defenses to see what we're capable of." "Then let's show them," said Laura, her eyes hard. "Let's make sure the few ships that escape tell a story that will make the collective think twice about ever attacking Earth again." In space, the battle had spread throughout the solar system. The Zithrai fleet was in chaos, with ships receiving conflicting orders thanks to Paul Brooks's breakthrough. Earth vessels, smaller but more agile, targeted the alien command ships and communication relays. Captain Nicole Bennett led a squadron of Earth's most advanced ships on a daring mission: penetrate the heart of the remaining Zithrai fleet and capture their flagship. Admiral Krelvik himself was the target. "Squadron, form up," she ordered as they approached the massive alien vessel. "Remember, we need the Admiral alive. He may be the key to understanding the collective." Her 12 ships, each barely the size of a Zithrai scout vessel, used the chaos of the battle as cover. While larger battles raged across the system, they slipped between Zithrai warships, their stealth systems making them nearly invisible. On his flagship, Admiral Krelvik was beginning to understand the terrible truth. The humans had been preparing for this invasion for decades. Their technology was specifically designed to counter Zithrai weapons and defenses. "We were set up to fail," he realized with growing horror. "The collective knew the humans were ready. They sent us here to die." His realization came too late. Nicole's squadron surrounded the flagship, disabling its engines and weapons with surgical precision. Before the Admiral could give the order to self-destruct, Earth forces were boarding the ship. Nicole led the boarding party herself, fighting through the ship's corridors until they reached the bridge. There they found Admiral Krelvik waiting, his weapons set down. "You don't need to fight," he said in perfect English, surprising the human soldiers. "I surrender, and I have information that may help you against our true enemy." On Earth, civilians watched the battle unfold as bright flashes in the daytime sky. In cities around the world, people gathered in streets and parks looking upward with a mixture of fear and hope. In the underground bunker beneath Washington, D.C., Director Peterson met with the World Security Council to reveal the final phase of Earth's defense. "We call it the Prometheus Protocol," she explained, displaying schematics on the main screen. "A weapon designed to target the collective's psychic network. If we can disrupt their control over the Zithrai forces, we might be able to end this battle without further bloodshed." "And if it fails?" asked the Russian representative. "Then we continue fighting the conventional way," Laura replied. But we're winning that fight already. The Zithrai underestimated us. The collective underestimated us. That's their weakness. They don't understand human determination. On the lunar outpost, Susan Miller had returned to continue her work analyzing the aliens' technology. Working with a team of scientists, she discovered something crucial, a frequency that could disrupt the quantum entanglement the collective used to control its forces. "Commander Wright," she called over the secure channel, "I think I've found a way to cut off the collective's control over the Zithrai ships. If we broadcast this frequency from all our vessels and defense platforms simultaneously, we might be able to free the Zithrai from their control." Wright didn't hesitate. "Do it. Send the frequency to all Earth forces." Within the hour, every human ship and platform was ready. On Wright's command, they all broadcast the disruptive frequency at once. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Across the battlefield, Zithrai ships suddenly stopped firing. Some began to retreat, while others simply drifted, their crews seemingly confused about what they were doing. On Nicole's captured flagship, Admiral Krelvik felt the collective's presence vanish from his mind for the first time in his life. The constant background whisper that had guided his every decision was gone, leaving only silence and freedom. "It worked," he said, looking at Nicole with an expression she couldn't quite read on his alien face. "You've freed us from their control." With the collective's influence broken, many Zithrai ships surrendered. Others, still loyal to the collective even without its direct control, fought on with increased desperation. But without coordination, they were no match for Earth's forces. By the end of the day, the battle was effectively over. Of the 10,000 ships that had come to conquer Earth, less than 200 remained operational, and most of those had surrendered. The few that managed to escape carried with them a message to the collective. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Earth was not merely defended, it was dangerous. In the Geneva war room, Earth's leaders gathered to plan their next move. The data from Krelvik and the captured ships revealed the extent of the collective's control across dozens of star systems. Other species had been enslaved, forced to serve the mysterious entity. "We can't just defend Earth anymore," said Laura, looking at the star map showing the collective's territory. "We need to take the fight to them." Alan Wright nodded in agreement. "Not just for us, but for all the other species they've enslaved. We need to become liberators." As night fell across Earth, citizens looked up at the stars with new understanding. They were not alone in the universe, and they were now part of a much larger conflict that would shape the future of the galaxy. The battle for Earth was over, but the war against the collective had just begun. 3 days after the battle ended, the cleanup began. Earth's orbit was filled with the wreckage of alien ships. Some were completely destroyed, while others drifted silently, their crews either dead or evacuated. Of the 10,000 ships that had come to conquer Earth, only 187 remained intact. Most of these had surrendered when the collective's control was broken. The rest, less than 20 ships, had managed to escape back into deep space, carrying with them the story of Earth's unexpected defense. In the Geneva headquarters of the Earth Defense Force, Admiral Krelvik sat across from Director Laura Peterson. Once enemies, they were now reluctant allies against a common foe. "The collective will not stop," Krelvik warned. "They see your species as a threat to their control. You've proven them right by defeating us." Laura nodded. "Then we need to be ready for the next attack, and we need to know everything about this collective." Krelvik hesitated, then made a decision. "My people were not always slaves. We were once a proud race of explorers and scientists. The collective found us 300 years ago. They changed us, made us into their soldiers." His eyes, so alien yet filled with familiar emotion, met Laura's. "There are others like us. Dozens of species enslaved by the collective's psychic network. If you could free my people, you could free them all." Across the city, Susan Miller led the debriefing of Zithrai engineers who had surrendered. Working together, they began mapping the locations of other enslaved civilizations that might become allies. The collective controls worlds in these star systems, said one Zithrai, pointing to a holographic star map. Each of these dots represents a civilization like mine, enslaved, waiting for freedom. Susan studied the map with a mixture of horror and determination. The collective's reach was vast, spanning a significant portion of the galaxy, but they now had a weakness, the frequency that disrupted their control. If we can broadcast this frequency throughout these systems, she said, we might be able to free them all at once. In Washington, D.C., Commander Alan Wright met with world leaders to discuss Earth's next steps. The mood was cautious but optimistic. Earth had won its first interstellar battle, but at a cost. Thousands of people had died in the fighting, mostly military personnel on the front lines. We can't just hide and wait for the next attack, Alan argued. We need to take the fight to the collective. The Chinese premier nodded in agreement. For the first time in human history, we are truly united. We must use this unity to protect, not just our world, but to help others. The decision was unanimous. Earth would transition from defender to liberator. Using the captured Zithrai ships and the technology recovered from them, humans would venture to the stars with a mission to free other enslaved species from the collective's control. In the weeks that followed, scientists Paul Brooks and Kevin West worked with Zithrai engineers to improve the disruptor technology. They developed a more powerful version that could sever the collective's control permanently, not just temporarily. The key is the quantum entanglement, Paul explained to the international science team. The collective uses it to link minds across vast distances. But entanglement is fragile, disrupted enough times, and the link breaks completely. The first true interstellar ship built by humans was completed 3 months after the invasion. Named the Unity, it combined Earth and Zithrai technology into something new, a vessel designed specifically to fight the collective. Captain Daniel Harris was chosen to command it, with Susan Miller as his second-in-command. Several Zithrai, including engineers and former military officers, volunteered to join the crew. On the day of launch, crowds gathered at viewing areas around the world. The Unity sat on its launch pad gleaming in the morning sun. Unlike the purple-black of Zithrai ships or the utilitarian gray of Earth's defense vessels, the Unity was painted white and blue, colors chosen to represent hope and freedom. Director I. Peterson stood with Commander Wright as they watched the final preparations. Do you think we're ready for this? She asked quietly. Taking the fight to an enemy we barely understand across distances we can hardly imagine? Alan smiled. If the invasion taught us anything, it's that humans are capable of more than even we believe possible. We built a defense system in secret for 50 years. We reversed engineered alien technology. We fought off 10,000 ships. He looked up at the Unity. I think we're ready to bring some justice to the galaxy. The launch was broadcast worldwide. As the Unity rose into the sky on pillars of blue flame, people cheered in every language. For the first time, humanity was united not in fear, but in purpose. Aboard the ship, Daniel Harris looked at his crew, human and Zithrai working side by side. Set course for the Proxima Centauri system, he ordered. According to our intel, there's a collective outpost there. Time to send them a message. Susan Miller, standing at the science station, smiled. I think they already got our message, Captain. 10,000 ships came to Earth. Only a few survived to tell the tale. As the Unity engaged its faster-than-light drive, the stars stretched and blurred around them. Earth became a distant point of light, then vanished as the ship jumped to another star system. The crew, both human and alien, felt a mixture of fear and determination. They were venturing into the unknown, facing an enemy of immense power, but they carried with them something the collective could never understand or defeat, the human spirit of freedom. The battle for Earth was over, but a new chapter in human history had begun. The species that had once looked up at the stars in wonder was now reaching out to them with purpose, and across the galaxy, enslaved worlds waited for liberation. The journey had just begun.